more timely. So Evan wanted to have this for us today, which is great. And we did get, Tammy got us filed for 1 CE credit for those attending the live segment today. So we'll have 2 poll questions during the hour. The first poll question is to check in the chat. Just let us know you're here. Make sure your name is displayed with your NPN number. All right. And as I mentioned, we do have this segment filed for 1 Illinois CE credit. You must answer both poll questions to get the credit and be attending this live segment. I am your president-elect for NABIP Illinois this year, or this term rather. My name's Sarah Walker-Height, for those of you that don't know me. I recently retired early from Health Alliance Medical Plans and opened my own agency, Silver Wolf Insurance Services, in Savoy, Illinois. I've been on the board for a number of years, both for local out of Heart of Illinois, downstate chapter, and also the state chapter. So thanks all for being here today. We will have our NABIP Illinois lobbyist, Evan Manning, presenting. And we'll also hear perhaps a few comments from our NABIP Illinois Legislative Committee chairs, Josh Garrett, Missy Shepard, and Carrie Espinoza. I know Carrie has been booked solid, so I don't know that she'll be joining us today. But, you know, again, make sure you note your questions. Feel free to put them in the chat. And you can always reach out and follow up with our ledge chairs or lobbyists if you think of questions later or have a concern that you want to discuss. We will have a short time at the end for our local chapters to provide updates for what's coming soon. We know we're all busy, so we do have a few things we want to get on everyone's radar though, and then we'll be done and doing our final poll question at the end for our close today. Now with that, because this is an official meeting, we are going to have the Pledge of Allegiance. So please rise and join me. I pledge
allegiance to the flag
of the
United States of America and to the republic
for
which it stands, one nation,
under
God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Well, we had a new press release that came out. No surprise there. We have congratulated as an association President-elect Donald J. Trump. So Jessica Brooks Woods did release this. You'll see this out on social media. I believe it's pretty typical protocol for us to release something along these lines in other associations. Just wanted to make everyone aware that that's out there on the NABIP page. We also had National released another press release warning of serious Medicare disruptions from the Aetna and Anthem policy changes. So again, making you all aware that this press release was shared, and again, there's updates out on the social media pages. So if you don't follow NABIP National on like LinkedIn or Facebook, please do so. Also be sure you're following us, NABIP Illinois, and then your local chapters as well, NABIP Suburban Chicago and NABIP Heart of Illinois. We do try our best to share all these pertinent updates on our social media channels. So with that, I am going to have our lobbyist, Evan Manning, unmute himself so that he can take over the slides here. Just
Good morning, Sarah.
Good morning. Switching everything over here. Trying to. All right, well, we're going to go ahead and let you get started here while I'm figuring
Right.
this out.
Well, good morning, everyone. As Sarah said, I'm Evan Manning, the lobbyist for NABIP Illinois. We're going to do a little election roundup, everything from the federal side and on the state side, but more focusing on the state side. Illinois residents had to cast ballots for several seats, including President of the United States. There were 24 state Senate offices that were up for grabs. All 118 House seats, all 17 Illinois congressional seats were also up for election. Sorry. The Supreme Court had 2 uncontested races. And obviously, and then there were 3 advisory referendums concerning election security, property tax relief, and reproductive health, which we'll go into. There were no statewide offices up for election this year. So Governor Pritzker and his cabinet was not up for election this term. So looking at the Illinois General Assembly, Democrats currently hold a statewide constitutional offices, as well as veto-proof majorities in both chambers of the state house. In the Senate is 40 Democrats to 19 Republicans. In the House, it is 78 Democrats, 40 Republicans. Once all ballots are counted, those majorities are expected to change very, very little. Following Tuesday's elections, with Democrats continue to hold veto-proof supermajorities in both chambers. This is the second election under the democratically drawn legislative and congressional districts, which happens every 10 years. Illinois General Assembly continued. There were a few competitive races in this election cycle, and all of those were concentrated in the Illinois House. There were very, very little contested races on the state Senate side. Despite being outspent significantly by the House Democrats and operating under the disadvantage of democratically drawn legislative maps, the House Republicans appear to have avoided real annihilation in this election and really put up a good fight across the state, doing a lot with very little compared to the Democrats and what they hold within their treasure chest. Additionally, I mean, part of that, I believe, is due in part of the red wave that came through across the country. President-elect Trump fared very surprisingly strong in Illinois, although Illinois obviously went Democrat and went to Harris for the electoral votes. But I believe it was since George Bush that a Republican had gotten over 44%, and that was in 1988. But really was a strong showing even in Illinois for President Trump, getting about a little over 45% of the vote. And we're going to look at, there's going to be some races that remain too close to call, and I outlined those here in the presentation as well. We're looking at the congressional races. Obviously, well, they're not highlighted in yellow anymore. But incumbents generally swept the board. The real race that is still up for grabs and is very, very tight is incumbent Congresswoman Nikki Budzinski. Holds a very narrow lead over challenger Joshua Lloyd. Congressman Eric Sorensen also holds a narrow lead over the challenger Judge Joe McGraw. But Mike Bost, Bill Foster, Brett Schneider, Jan Schakowsky, Raja Krishnamurthy, Denny Davis, Sean Casten, Mike Quigley, Chewy Garcia, Delia Ramirez, Robin Kelly, Jonathan Jackson, Lauren Underwood, all won re-election. And it does seem that Nikki Budzinski should keep her seat over Joshua Lloyd, and it does appear that looks like Eric Sorensen should hold that seat over Judge Joe McGraw as challenger. On the Illinois Senate races, 24 of 59 Senate seats were up for election this year. Of those, only 11 were contested races, and all incumbents won re-election on Tuesday. Graciela Guzman, who defeated appointed Senator Natalie Toro in the 20th District, Senate District primary, won on Tuesday as well. So there really wasn't any real surprise on the Senate race side in Springfield or in Illinois. The Illinois House of Representative races, all 118 House seats were up for election. As I stated previously, of those, 60 were contests in the general election. As of Wednesday morning, 7 races remain too close to call. In the 47th District, Representative Amy Grant is currently leading over her Democratic challenger. See if I can. Amy Grant, the 47th District, over Jackie Williamson. That's a very, very razor thin margins there. I don't anticipate having. That was as of yesterday afternoon, so I don't know if there's been any outcome to these races as well. So bear with me here. And on the furthermore, like the other, as I mentioned, the further contested races that are too close to call is in the 52nd District. Republican Representative Marty McLaughlin holds a narrow lead over Marsha Peterson. In the hotly contested 76th District, Democrat Amy Briel holds the lead over Republican Liz Bishop to replace retiring Representative Lance Yednock. 91st District, Democrat Representative Sharon Chung holds a lead over her challenger. In the 97th, Representative Harry Benton holds the lead over his Republican challenger, Gabby Shanahan. And in the hotly contested 104th House District, appointed Representative Brandon Schweitzer holds the lead over challenger Jarrett Clem. Although several precincts remain outstanding in the race, we should be hearing shortly over the next, either today or tomorrow, the result of that. And in the competitive 114th House District, first from Republican Representative Kevin Schmidt holds a holds a lead over former Representative Latoya Greenwood. But a lot of those are still too close to call, and we will see some final outcomes here by the end of the week. As I mentioned previously, there were 3 statewide referendums that voters were asked to consider dealing with concerning election security, property tax, and reproductive health. Unlike a typical referendum, which is guaranteed to go into effect if approved by voters, these were advisory questions, merely indicating voters will and do not automatically take or advisory questions entirely. So all 3 referendums passed overwhelmingly. This gives a signal to the General Assembly whether they need to really focus on legislation during veto session or lame duck session or spring session to address some of these issues. So obviously the biggest one concerning our membership is in the reproductive health. The question was stated as, should all medically appropriate assisted reproductive treatments, including but not limited to in vitro fertilization, be covered by any health insurance plan in Illinois that provides coverage for pregnancy benefits without limitations on the number of treatments. So there is what the rule poses the question is unlimited in vitro assistance, reproductive health assistance for Illinois residents. So that is, as many people know, this is a very hard topic to discuss. It's a kind of a with legislators, it's a very sensitive topic, but at $15,000 to $20,000 per treatment for in vitro fertilization, and typically having the average is 2.5 times that a couple would need to go through in vitro, or the individual need to go through in vitro for it to be successful. So, there's potentially, you look at, there could potentially be abuse of this, how much this is inevitably going to be raising the cost of health insurance if the legislature were to pass something allowing the unlimited in vitro and the assistance of reproductive treatments. So that is, I believe, received over 75% of the vote in Illinois. So it did send a strong message from residents that they would like to have that be part of, the policy reform state. So it's going to be an uphill battle defeating that type of legislation, but certainly we will be involved and talk through the scenarios with legislators, the governor's office, and everyone involved. And I'll be sending out a general election report to everyone today, just to kind of give you a breakdown that you would like to have too. So Missy, if you can actually put that in the chat if possible. Missy or Sarah, I'm sorry, if that is something you can do, but I will be sending a Springfield update out to Sarah and Missy and Carrie and Josh. All receive mine, so we will have that available to all members. Take a look and see, just an election roundup for the state side. The House side, or sorry, the federal side, the House remains still too close to call with several races, 38 races still outstanding. It does appear maybe Republicans will hold a very, very slight majority in the House. And as of right now, they definitely will hold a majority in the Senate at least 52 seats. So it's definitely a very red wave that came through nationally, talking about, I think it was more of the issues of the economy, the cost of living, and immigration was really, really at the top of the ticket for a lot of voters across the nation. And it was interesting to see the outcomes from, and the resounding victory for former President Trump. But I can happy to take any questions from members if you have it in the chat, or if you want to pop up on screen and be so bold.
Good morning, Evan. It's Missy.
Good
I would
morning.
use my camera, but I'm having technical difficulties. I got cameras pointing at me odd directions. So anyhow, not to move on too quickly, but curious on what you expect from the upcoming veto session.
Yes.
Anything?
So veto session begins next week. From what I've heard from my sources within the Senate and the House, pardon me, it's early and having that coffee. I feel it's going to be a pretty light session, which we should all root for. I have not heard much from Representative Thaddeus Jones, who chairs the House Insurance Committee. I talked to Representative Jeff Kiker yesterday. He hasn't heard much on the insurance front of what they're going to be addressing during veto session. I do think it's going to be a fairly light veto session this time around. So usually they have lame duck session, which will be later this year before they swear in the new General Assembly. So that's always another time where they can push, some of these final. There's no real urgency during veto session this year because of lame duck session. So we could see a very light veto session leading into what could be a very busy lame duck. But right now, over these next 2 weeks, I really don't see a whole lot going down in Springfield for legislative purposes, other than what is kind of emergency situations that need to be addressed. So I don't think we're going to see a lot of new policy that's going to be floated out in veto session.
Hey, Evan, it's Carrie. Could you give me a kindergartner's explanation of what that means with a lame duck?
In regards to what, Gary?
When you say it's gonna be a lame duck session and that's
Oh.
gonna impact the veto session.
Yeah. So lame duck session is when, a General Assembly serves for 2 years. And so we're exiting I believe the 104th General Assembly and moving into the 105th General Assembly. And so when that happens, there is a time frame where the old General Assembly can, in a week, I believe is what they generally consider for lame duck. In a week-long session, they'll take action on several, could be several initiatives, could be nothing, during what's called a lame duck session, which is when the old General Assembly is on their way out, and this is their last chance to do something before the new General Assembly moves in. With no real legislative changes or makeups within the General Assembly this year, it's going to be just kind of a normal session period, but all in just 1 week, which will be lame duck. So it's really from when one General Assembly terms out to the other General Assembly. There's a window for the old General Assembly that can still pass legislation before the new General Assembly is sworn in.
Got it. And you're saying that you're not expecting a lot because there's not enough changes?
I'm not expecting a lot because one, election year, generally speaking for veto, and that it's not a huge veto session when you're just coming off the heels of an election.
Got it.
That is,
Sorry, I'm still familiarizing myself with all
No.
these terms, so
no,
thank
they're all
you.
good questions, because I feel like everyone needs to know, generally speaking too, it's that veto session after an election is generally pretty tame. And so unless there's emergency situations and high priority agendas for both the Speaker of the House and the President of the Senate, nothing is really that urgent on their agendas this year. So that's where I believe it's going to be hopefully a very tame session. Now, knock on wood, otherwise I'll be living at the Capitol for the next 2 weeks, but that's generally speaking. And because you're moving into a new General Assembly as well, I expect a very big year this year in the spring session. It's going to be a very busy year. When you bring in, not only new people that are getting elected, very few that were, elected, but it comes with a lot of new ideas and new initiatives. And based off of what happened last year and the year before on the insurance industry side, now I do believe that there is a larger target on the industry as a whole, and it's going to be very, very busy spring session this year.
Got it. I don't like that you said there's a larger target on the industry, but it is what it is, I guess. Yes,
and and I believe Governor Pritzker has really, last year when he took aim at the health insurance industry this last year, and I don't think he's going to really lose focus on the industry altogether too. So I do think that there's going to be more initiatives that come out of the governor's office, comes out of the Department of Insurance, aimed at the industry, and unfortunately probably not for the better.
So can I ask a question that might not be appropriate, but I feel like it needs to be asked? Why are we not doing something as an association, promoting insurance as better with a broker?
Why are we not doing more as a, say that
Well,
again?
right, can't we get some press releases? Can't we get some Facebook ads? Can't we do something as an association? And if
Yes.
Illinois is specifically under attack, can't we do something? Do we have budget to do something here that starts
So
to drive
nationally,
awareness?
nationally, the good news is we do have a national NABIP campaign underway. It's called Brokers Make a Difference. And it just recently rolled out. It's going to pick up momentum here in the next couple of weeks across social media. But Jessica Brooks Woods, a NABIP, is leading that charge. I have seen a few. They will, of course, be promoting. We have an agent finder on nabip.org. So there will be various, fun taglines and things, but it will all be around the campaign of Brokers Make a Difference, with a Brokers Make a Difference logo next to the NABIP logo. So we do have that coming. Nationals working on it, and it would be awesome again if everyone could like and follow NABIP, NABIP Illinois, NABIP Suburban Chicago, and NABIP Heart of Illinois, and just help us like, share, comment on all of those posts to help, with the algorithms to get them boosted, because national is paying for those campaigns to be boosted. But those algorithms are ever-changing creatures, and really it's the interaction that we all do with them that helps boost them up and get the visibility out there for folks in cyberspace.
So if I heard you right, Sarah, you're saying that there's going to be nationally created and promoted Facebook and LinkedIn posts. Are there other social media posts?
So there will be multiple brokers make a difference type of posts.
But other platforms, I guess, is what I'm asking. Are you doing anything on Instagram? Are you doing?
I can ask.
I mean,
I know it will be Facebook and LinkedIn, because I'm on Facebook and LinkedIn, and I've already started seeing them dribble out.
Got it. Yeah,
but I can ask about Twitter and Instagram. I'll check and I'll get back to you guys.
Full disclosure, like, I'm not a social media guru. I'm not really even good at my own, but I'd like to be able to report back to my chapter.
Right, absolutely. And I do have some slides coming up that will help you share that. So I don't know, Carrie, if you heard earlier, but the slide decks are out in our NABIP Illinois Google Drive. I forwarded the report that Evan had provided, but the full slide deck is out there in our Google Drive. It's too big for me to email, but I'll be covering some of that here in just a couple minutes, the national slides to share with everyone.
Thank you. And I'm imagining you sent an email with a link to the Google Drive, because I don't even know what a Google Drive is.
Oh, sure. Yeah, I can absolutely help with that. Evan, you do have another question in the chat.
Yeah, so Deanna McCafferty asked about, the three referendum questions and really what comes next. So as I mentioned, there was nothing that the referendum questions really, it wasn't like there was an implementation of law right away from those questions. This sends basically the signal to the General Assembly and the governor's office that these are priorities for the people of Illinois, and they need to be the priority for the General Assembly. So what comes next is there's going to be legislation that will be introduced. My theory is that it's going to be in the spring session for legislation to be introduced and negotiated and go through the cycle during the next spring session. So
would it likely be the same wording?
You mean the same wording as in the questions that were posed?
Yeah, right, because one of them was with no limits, right? So I mean, if you
It'll
had
be
a
unlimited.
limitation, It will be unlimited.
The language
Oh, that's scary.
that will be, I 100% it will be, I
Okay.
anticipate that as it's introduced, it'll be introduced as unlimited or no limits, which is, unlimited.
Wow.
So
Okay.
that will be, I can put a stamp on that because it 100% the introduction of that bill will be no cap to the reproductive treatments, including in vitro.
Okay. And I made a comment about it being scary. My problem is that, when you go in with something that's unlimited, it is, at somebody else's discretion. So some people won't even need to worry about that, and some people will definitely benefit from it. I understand.
Oh yeah, yeah. But at the same time the conversations that doctors were having with patients about, there's a lot of mental strain that goes into, as many people know, um, going into the in vitro and all the reproductive um, treatments available for women too. It's a lot of physical and emotional stress and strain on the body, and when you're talking about, there's no cap, no limit to how many times this can happen to
Mhm.
a person. What's uh, what's that look like for their mental health and their physical health moving forward too. So
That's
Well,
true.
I would think that there would be, from a provider standpoint, the doctor provider
they would have to have
could
those.
potentially have their own, to say, this is, I'm not comfortable proceeding with this. I think we could start to see things like that for the health of my patient. I'm not
Yeah,
comfortable with taking you
we
through another
you
cycle.
would definitely have to have the provider network out there come out to basically say that there has to be some kind of there's a limit to everyone's body and even the doctor's willingness or their professional opinion to move forward and continue that work. So it's going to be a very complicated and drawn out discussions over this next year.
Right.
Yeah, and
Thank
with
you.
all of the formulary, all of us that are in the Medicare space, all the formulary changes, it wouldn't surprise me, being retired from an insurance carrier, that we could see some formulary changes as well, in terms of coverage and things like that from different carriers. So while you could have the broad statement of this is unlimited treatments, there may be, again, from the provider themselves and from the carrier, there could be some tighter guide rails and things of that nature. We'll just like anything else, let's see how that unfolds, right?
I was going to say, shouldn't there still be a prior authorization process, even though, something like this passes? Can't there still be a prior authorization requirement for treatment at the carrier level?
I don't know. That's
I
a
don't
great
know.
question. If it's unlimited treatment, I mean, you would have to, with your carrier, again, the guardrails in place, like especially with the Health Alliance, where they tend to do more HMO POS, you would have to have that provider and network for that plan, right?
Right.
And again, the criteria for treatment, again, is where I could see the guardrails tightening to say, this is the path that's covered with this carrier, if you will. But it'll be interesting to see how it unfolds for sure.
Yeah.
But if it's a law that's a state law, it's a mandate, it's got to be followed.
Well, for you can't for ERISA. I mean, you can't preempt ERISA policies as well. So you can't force that happen to or that upon the private insurers that do it for ERISA as well. So it's going to be some, Medicaid. This will certainly be targeted towards individuals on Medicaid and those that are not on ERISA plans.
So your individual plans, small group, and Medicaid mainly is what?
Yep.
Most of these mandates that get passed, that
That's
really only
most-
affects that block of business.
Yeah.
Not your larger employers, which in this particular instance, in vitro already is a requirement for large group as a separate, probably a federal guideline. Yeah, but on the state side, Evan, you can attest to this, not just this mandate potentially, but every mandate
all
really
mandates.
only applies to, small group and individual policies that aren't governed by ERISA.
Yeah, and affordability will go right down the toilet.
100%. It is going
Yes.
to skyrocket the costs of health insurance. But I'm seeing every day that there's cheaper plans out there, and I just don't know how comprehensive they could possibly be. So it's
Yeah.
definitely it's a scary, obviously it's a scary time. But we will keep everyone up to date on not only this topic moving forward throughout the General Assembly once a bill is introduced, and can have broader conversations with the team as well. But we'll keep everyone informed on the ins and outs of what's being introduced. Usually that happens in January for other bills to be introduced. But really what's moving forward, what has legs, what we deem as these are bills that we need to prioritize and be on the battle fronts for.
I also have pulled up, Missy shared, this was for those that contribute to the NABIP National PAC. We receive legislative updates specific to, PAC activities and things of that nature. This is one of the flyers that Missy sent over. I know I received it as well, but Missy, do you want to talk about this PDF?
I'm not seeing it at the moment. I know which one you're talking about, but let me get it in front of me.
Hold on, let me remove spotlight from Evan. Maybe that will work. Can you see my what to watch for
I
election
do have to
night?
run, but thank you.
Thanks, Evan.
Thank you, Evan.
Can you see my slides?
No.
Okay, I'm
We're
gonna
still
stop
on
sharing and I'm gonna reshare to see if I can get that to work. Now?
There you go.
Okay. I had to take control back from Evan, I think. Okay. So comments, guidance on what this is telling us?
Well, I mean, obviously these are every state. Illinois is not going to be on any of this. Our polls close and 10 seconds later they tell us that we were blue. So, but these are some of the states that we were, closely keeping an eye on election night. Being day 2 after that, you can see obviously there was a red wave through the election, and several of these states did vote for President Trump in the end, as we know. Let's go to the next. So we have had several of the seats in the Senate flip Republican. There were some that flipped Democrat as well, but it does look like we have the Republicans have the majority in the Senate now. And depending on which news source you listen to, we may have the House. but that is undetermined at this time, to the best of my knowledge. But you can see here just some of the changes that have happened over the last couple of days. The next slide, please, Sarah.
Sure.
Yeah. So just a closer look at what has happened and the margins of victory and what it looked like in the past to compared to this year. I was really amazed in Illinois that the difference only being about 6.8%, leaning Democrat. That is amazing to me. I haven't heard any other news sources talk about that yet, but I think that I did hear this morning that New York had the same, typically a blue state, but the red showing there was very, very strong. It's just a very interesting election. You know, we'll have a lame duck session as well federally as things change. So I would expect that to be pretty active. Not like, you know, we just shared with Evan, we're going to have a lame duck session in Illinois, but there really aren't many seats changing. So those same folks aren't going to have the urgency to get a lot of things done before they lose their seat because they're staying, right? But federally, that's a different story. So we'll keep an eye on what's going to happen on the federal level as we move forward. I know that there is another budget bill that will need to be passed, and I believe NABIP has an eye on a couple of healthcare items that may be attached to that. And there is discussion on, of course, the tax credits expiring next year. So that is obviously something that needs to be dealt with. And in my opinion, I don't know that they'll address it right now. Why? They have another year. And it just seems that things don't get worked on until it's right before the deadline and last minute get rolled out. So trying not to be doom and gloom, but
Right.
we'll
Well,
keep
Illinois
an eye
went
on that.
through redistricting. What was it, a year ago, Missy? Can you add a comment about that? I'm not sure everyone was aware that occurred.
The redistricting map was at least a year ago, maybe, I don't know, they discussed it for another year prior to that, but I mean, if you take a look at the Illinois map and the districts and how they're drawn out, you would think that somebody just
A toddler did it. Yeah.
took a crayon and scribbled and said, these are the new ones, right? But obviously somebody knew what they were doing to not have any seats turn in Illinois, especially with the amount of Republican votes that were cast statewide. And for not one seat to turn, obviously, I mean, should tell us all that somebody knew exactly what they were drawing up in those districts. Shouldn't be a surprise. We have talked about this before, but and little disappointed to hear that they only do that every 10 years. So we've got a while yet before, you know, we can take a look at those and redraw them or, you know, do anything about that, obviously, on the Illinois side. So
Yeah, my district went to, it looks like a backwards question mark, kind of skims around Champaign, Urbana, and comes down. It's very strange. I was like,
I know that, in fact, it took me a while to realize that I didn't have the same House representative. His district is like 10 miles wide and it cuts right through within a half a mile where I live. And it's just crazy. There's a spot down by Galesburg and then it's really, really skinny all the way up and touches Rockford. It's insane. So
yeah, it's amazing. And I know we've all been busy, so make sure you're double checking if you haven't lately, know who your rep is, so we can continue to communicate with them. It's a great time. I know we're busy, but there are several surveys. We sent that out from last month's NABIP Pulse follow-up several national surveys collecting information, one for Medicare individual clients, one for Medicare agents, and another for individual marketplace at this point. Plus, we do have a separate, and I'll have a slide for that here in a minute. Forgot what it's called, Missy, I'm blanking out, where we can provide feedback to NABIP.
Oh, the NABIP apps.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
And I'll have a slide for those here in a moment too. So I know it's all very confusing. Reach out to us if you have questions and you're like, hey, you mentioned this and I can't quite find it. Please don't hesitate to reach out. This particular slide is brand new. This is from National. They have put together some toolkits to share. So you can scan the code or you can go to nabip.org, and across the top of the page, you'll see toolkits kind of like front and center that you can click on, at least at this point. I'm sure they update that every now and again. But and again, these slides, I put the link in the chat. So please someone check that, make sure you can open that folder. But in our Ledge series, today's slides are out there. 2024, November 7th slide deck is out there in PowerPoint. And I will send out a PDF of the slides via email to the whole state. So all of our members attending and those that could not can see some of this information and have it handy. But again, there are some templates for Medicare Facebook ads, Google ads, Medicare print ads that you can use for your agency. We could use for our chapters, things of that nature. And again, out on NABIP's, NABIP National social media pages, they've started the Brokers Making a Difference campaign. Again, it started recently. It's going to continue to be boosted throughout fourth quarter. So there will be several variations of it. There will be one specific to Medicare, individual, under 65, groups, and just some general, why brokers are important, things of that nature. So again, please follow on the social media channels, like, share, comments, even if it's just like a picture or an emoji. Again, that helps boost the visibility. So this is just an outline for open enrollment. There's a couple of other toolkits that they're working on as well that will be posted shortly. Sorry, I hit too many buttons there. So we've got one for AEP, one for open enrollment. And again, they're going to continue, National is going to continue to provide these templates for us to use throughout the year. So kind of cool. If you are not currently, I would ask you consider joining the NABIP PAC. If you're anything like me, you may have joined at one point and fallen off without even realizing it. I fell off for a few months, not realizing, because apparently I wasn't paying that close of attention to my accounting for a few months. So there were some system changes, things of that nature. If you use a credit card instead of ACH through banking, I was actually using the ACH, so I'm not sure how I fell off. But anyway, my message to you is please consider participating in the NABIP PAC. That's a national PAC, so it's not at the state level. We do have a state level PAC that we support. It's actually through the Big I, IIA. Evan is the government relations director there. So instead of having our own NABIP PAC, since we all share the same lobbyists, NABIP, NAFA, Big I, at this point, we do recommend taking a look at the Big I's PAC for support if you want to support state level. Excuse me, the NABIP member app store, this was what I was totally blanking on earlier. This is the fun website, nabip.app/apps. So when you think of an app, a lot of times you're thinking you're going to go on your phone to your app store to download something. Now, NABIP does have an app you can download. That's not what this is. This is a separate landing page. Again, you can access it from our regular website, nabip.org. But if you want to get here directly, it's nabip.app/apps. And you're going to find a number of icons. The one shown here is the one with the bell on it in the middle of the page. This is the Your Voice Matters app. This is how we can document and provide the problem and some potential solutions that we would like to see to our NABIP national board members, who are all elected volunteers for NABIP. So, Alicia Rydell and her team will just make sure that everything gets in front of them instead of having a million different emails. It helps manage the chaos of having a lot of people communicate with them. So be sure you check that out. Again, I know we're all really busy right now, but they do want to hear from us. We want to know what the pain points are. And also, don't just share the problem, share a potential solution of what you'd like to see. Also recently released from National is the Impact and Influence report. So this is a new report that Jessica put together to share with us. And I think it's key. We need to be able to measure our successes and show the activities that National is participating in, right? So this one was just sort of a first go at it, if you will, of the revamping of this report. And it just gives some key information. I put copies of this report into our NABIP Illinois monthly newsletter. So there was an email that went out from Lou, and if you click on to expand the PDF to the full newsletter, it takes you through the calendar of events, things of that nature. It also has these national reports in there as well. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time going over that. I just want to make you aware that it's there. Now, in addition to the quarterly report from National, they're also going to do a state update quarterly report. This is not one that we do at NABIP Illinois. This is done nationally for the states. And again, we do put Evan in contact with Max at NABIP and those folks so that we can help keep everyone updated. In the upper right-hand corner, you'll see NABIP State Update Quarterly Report. These will come out to your email. So if you're not currently getting these, let me know. Drop it in the chat, send me an email, and we need to confirm that your email address is correct with National. So not just these state update quarterly reports that we get via email, but there are ledge updates every Friday as well, with other communications. So, again, please be aware that these are available. And if you're not getting them for some reason, there could be a problem. So this is what the state quarterly report looks like. Again, I included that in our newsletter. And with that, I'm going to take a sip and turn things over to NABIP Suburban Chicago leadership so they can share what's coming up for them in November.
Hi, Sarah. I guess I'm the only one here. I don't see Chris is on it. So can you hear me?
I can, yes.
Okay. So next Wednesday, we have a meeting. Our speaker is Elliot Richardson, and he is a president and co-founder of the Small Business Advocacy Council. It is also our last meeting of a year and our annual Bring a Toy or non-perishable food item. After that, we actually have our next meeting in January, which will be a woman from Social Security. Other than that, not much to report at this point.
All right. Deanna?
Yep. I'm here.
Hey, Deanna, you want to share what's going on at Heart of Illinois?
Well, we're going to have our membership meeting November 14th. It'll be at the OSF Jump Center in Peoria. We're going to have Lance McCafferty. He's no relation, but we do spell our names the same. Benefit Mall Mutual Med. So I'm excited to hear what Lance has to say. He's been an active participant for quite a while, and I am going to enjoy listening to what he has to say. Topic is PEOs and supplemental gap benefits for groups. We meet the second Tuesday of the month, and so we will be meeting in November. I'm waiting. I don't know if we confirm the December date or not, but back at then in January as well. So would appreciate having anything. Let me think. I think that's about it.
And you're working on putting together
Oh
the
my gosh, yes, I
March
am.
Expo.
I am so sorry. You're right. I'm working on the expo that's coming up in March, Business Expo, and we got so excited about some of the speakers we may have that we even started planning for 2026, I believe. So there's quite an opportunity here. More news to come, and excited to bring information to the state, Central Illinois.
Well, thank you. And we do have all the dates for both chapters listed out on the websites. NABIP heartofil.org. And Holly, remind me, is it nabipsc.com?
NABIP SCIL.
nabipscil.com. I'll put those in the chat real quick for us. Everyone can have it. I know you guys have been working really hard on getting your calendar for next year set up as well. All right. So again, I want to remind everyone that today's session is replacing our normal third Thursday meeting time on November 21st. We will not be meeting on the 21st this month for NABIP Pulse. So our next segment is December 19th. And instead of calling it third Thursday, I've renamed it slowly but surely over the past several months to NABIP Pulse. Just gives us a little more latitude in it, and it brings us in line with the naming conventions other states are using for similar supplemental updates. One thing to note is Lou Reginelli and our committee is working on putting together our annual NABIP Illinois Leadership Conference. This is a virtual conference that occurs in January. We will, because it falls on our third Thursday, have an update from our legislative team that includes Evan, our lobbyist, and Missy Shepard will be taking the lead for sharing federal topics. Thank you, Missy, again. And I'm sorry I have the time wrong. It says 8 to 9 a.m. It'll actually be 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. So we'll be a couple of hours, and we are filing for CE credits. Do I have Lou on with me?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, Lou, further comments? I know you've been working hard to put this together.
Well, first of all, we need to get my picture off of this flyer because it's ruining everything. I mean, Missy looks so good next to me, and I just screw up everything on this. So, but no, we're looking forward to it. All our speakers are confirmed, and it should be a very good time. So I'm looking forward to it. The only one we don't have on there is Bob Treader. Bob will be speaking on servant leadership, and I've heard his speech and presentation a couple of times. So it's going to be very good.
Perfect. So I've just shared in the chat the links to our websites. Of course, National has regular webinars and professional development webinars ongoing. So be sure to check them out as well. And since we're at 9 o'clock, I'm going to go ahead and close, and please answer your second poll question. Just let us know a hello, a goodbye. Let me know that you are checking out for the day. We appreciate your time again, and we will be providing copies of these slides via email. So again, if you're having trouble getting those emails, things aren't coming through, please let me know, and we will research that. Thank you all so much. Have a wonderful week.
Great job, Sarah. Thank you. Happy
Thank
Thanksgiving,
you.
everybody.
You too, guys. You too.
Happy
Travel safe.
Thanksgiving.